Have you ever been stopped on the street by a foreigner who looked lost? Maybe you were walking home. Maybe you were just buying coffee. And suddenly someone walked up to you and said, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station?" You caught a few words. Train. Station. Maybe left or right. But not enough. Not enough to answer clearly. Not enough to ask them to repeat confidently. So you smiled. You hesitated. You pointed somewhere random. Or worse, you said, "Sorry, I don't speak English." And then you walked away with that heavy feeling in your chest. Not because you're stupid. Not because you're lazy. But because in that moment, language took away your power. You were standing in your own city. On your own street. And yet, you felt small. Silent. Locked inside your own thoughts. That feeling stays with you longer than the conversation. You replay it in your head. Why couldn't I just say something simple? Why did I freeze? And slowly, you start telling yourself a story. Maybe English is just not for me. But here's the truth. You don't learn English to sound cool. You don't learn it to impress people. You learn it so you don't lose your voice in important moments. You learn it so that when life suddenly speaks to you in English, you can answer back. Calmly. Clearly. Without fear. This is the story of Liam. He was 22, living in a small town where English wasn't part of daily life. He didn't have a private tutor. He didn't join an expensive course. He didn't move abroad. What he had was a moment of embarrassment on the street, and a decision. He decided he would never say, "Sorry, I don't speak English," again unless he truly meant it. And the tool that helped him wasn't magic. It wasn't a secret method. It was something simple and accessible, ChatGPT. Not as a shortcut, not as a miracle, but as a safe practice space with instant feedback. A place where he could write one sentence at a time, make mistakes without shame, ask questions without pressure, and repeat conversations until they felt natural. This video is not just a motivational story. It's a full story and a full system. I'll show you exactly how Liam used ChatGPT daily. One sentence, one correction, one short conversation at a time, to move from zero confidence to speaking naturally. If you want graded stories and practical English systems you can actually apply at home, subscribe to Inspire English Stories. Now let me ask you something. What was the very first message Liam typed into ChatGPT? And how did just 15 minutes every morning slowly change everything? On the first morning, Liam didn't write anything impressive. He didn't try to sound smart. He didn't use complicated grammar. He simply opened ChatGPT and typed, "My English is not good. Please help me slowly." That was it. No big speech. No dramatic introduction. Just honesty. And something important happened right there. He didn't try to fix his entire English life in one day. He just started. But here's what really made the difference. It wasn't only the tool. It was the system. Liam realized something early. If he opened Instagram first, he would scroll. If he opened YouTube first, he would just watch one video. And suddenly 30 minutes would disappear. So he made one small rule. Before anything else in the morning, before social media, before news, before messages, he would open ChatGPT. This is what we call friction versus consistency. If you want to study every day, you must reduce the friction to begin. The easier it is to start, the more likely you are to continue. He didn't depend on motivation. He removed the obstacles. His morning routine was only 15 minutes. That's important. Not 1 hour. Not 2. Just 15. Small enough to repeat. Step 1. A micro diary. Every morning, he wrote 3 or 4 simple sentences about his day. Nothing creative. Just real life. For example, today I wake up at 7. I feel a little tired. I drink coffee and check my phone. Then he asked, "Please correct my sentences and explain shortly." ChatGPT replied with something like, "Today I woke up at 7. I felt a little tired. I drank coffee and checked my phone." Then it gave short explanations. Wake becomes woke in past tense. Feel becomes felt. Add a before little. Short. Clear. No long grammar lecture. Step 2. Read the corrected version aloud. This part changed everything. Before, Liam only read English in his head. Now he used his voice. He read the corrected sentences slowly. Today I woke up at 7. I felt a little tired. He repeated them 3, 4, 5 times. He listened to the rhythm. He trained his mouth. Because speaking is not only knowledge. It's muscle and timing. Step 3. 5 daily phrases. He asked, give me 5 useful daily English sentences, simple and practical. He got phrases like, I'm running late. That makes sense. I'm not sure. Let me think about it. That sounds good. Then he did something smart. He didn't just read them. He tried to use them. He wrote his own sentences. I am running late today. That makes sense for me. I'm not sure about this. Then he asked for correction. This is called active recall. Instead of looking at the correct answer first, he tried from memory. He produced language before checking it. That struggle, those small mistakes, actually helped his brain remember better. Writing first, correcting after, is far more powerful than reading perfect sentences passively. The entire routine took about 15 minutes. Some days 18. Some days 12. But it was consistent. After 7 days, he was not fluent. After 10 days, he was not confident in conversations. But something had changed. He was no longer afraid of simple sentences. He could say, I woke up late. I feel tired. I'm not sure, without freezing. And that was a huge win. Because fluency doesn't start with big speeches. It starts with not being scared of basic language. For the first time, English felt less like a monster and more like a skill. A skill that could be built slowly, piece by piece. But then a new question appeared. Writing is safe. Reading aloud in your room is safe. What about real conversation? What about pressure? What about speaking when someone is actually responding? Without a partner, how did Liam create that pressure? Most people say, I can't improve my speaking because I don't have a partner. That's what Liam believed at first, too. But then he realized something important. A speaking partner gives you 3 things. You speak out loud, you listen and respond, and you feel pressure. If you can recreate those 3 elements, you can train alone. That's where ChatGPT became more than a correction tool. It became a conversation simulator. Liam didn't start with complicated debates. He started simple. Week 1 was only about restaurants and basic situations. He typed, let's do a role play. You are a waiter. Ask me simple questions. ChatGPT replied, good evening. Are you ready to order? Liam answered out loud, yes, I want chicken and rice. Then he typed his answer, so ChatGPT could correct it. The response came back, I'd like chicken and rice, please. Short correction. Natural phrasing. Then the next question. Would you like something to drink? One question at a time. That was the method. ChatGPT asked 1 sentence. Liam answered. Immediate correction. Then the next question. No long scripts. No overwhelming paragraphs. Just a clean back and forth rhythm. In week 2, he increased the level. Directions. Small talk. Phone call style conversations. Excuse me, how do I get to the bus station? Hi, I'm calling to ask about the job opening. The sentences became slightly longer. The thinking became slightly faster. But he kept the structure controlled. 1 question at a time. Answer. Correction. Continue. By week 3, he moved to higher pressure scenarios. Job interviews, doctor visits, polite complaints. Can you describe your strengths? How long have you been feeling this pain? I'm sorry, but I think there's a mistake on my bill. These weren't random topics. They were real-life folders he might actually need. Here's the key. He didn't memorize vocabulary lists. He focused on sentences and chunks. Natural pieces of language like, I'd like to, could you please? I'm not sure, but the reason is that these chunks act like ready-made building blocks. When you store them as complete units, your brain responds faster. That's how real fluency grows. Not word by word, but phrase by phrase. But he also understood something else. Practicing silently was not enough. So he created safe pressure. Every day, or at least 3 times a week when he was busy, he recorded himself speaking for 60 to 120 seconds using the same prompt. For example, describe your day. He recorded it on Monday, then again on Friday, then the next week. Listening back wasn't always comfortable. His voice sounded unsure at first. Slow. Hesitant. But after 2 weeks, he noticed something. Fewer pauses. Clearer rhythm. Longer sentences. That recording became proof. Not emotion. Not guesswork. Proof. He also used mirror speaking. Every morning after his diary practice, he stood in front of the mirror and answered 2 simple questions aloud while looking directly into his own eyes. It felt awkward at first, but it trained presence. Speaking is not only about grammar. It's about eye contact, posture, and voice confidence. Even if no one else was there, he practiced showing up. Then he added what he called the no silence timer. He set a 60-second timer and forced himself to speak without stopping, even if the sentences were basic. Today is Monday. I feel a little tired. I have work at 9. I want to improve my English. I am trying every day. The goal wasn't perfection. The goal was flow. Training his brain not to freeze. Training his mouth not to panic when there's no script. This method did something powerful. It reduced fear before real-life pressure arrived, because he had already simulated stress in a safe space. Slowly, English stopped feeling like an exam and started feeling like a tool. A tool he could actually use. After a few weeks, he could handle short conversations without panic. Not perfectly, but clearly. He could answer questions. He could ask for clarification. He could continue instead of shutting down. But then a new challenge appeared. He was speaking more, practicing more, learning more, and he began to wonder, how do I make sure I don't forget all of this? How do I know I'm truly improving? At this point, Liam was speaking more. He was role-playing. He was recording his voice. He was practicing daily. But a new fear appeared. What if I forget everything? This is where most solo learners quit. Not because they're lazy. Not because they lack ability. But because 2 silent problems slowly destroy motivation. No feedback and no visible progress. If no one corrects you, you repeat the same mistakes. If you can't see improvement, you assume nothing is changing. So Liam changed how he used ChatGPT. He stopped using it like Google. He started using it like a teacher. Instead of asking random questions, he gave clear instructions. Correct my sentence. Explain simply. Give me 3 examples. Short. Direct. Every correction became a mini lesson. If he wrote, I have many works, ChatGPT would reply. Say, I have a lot of work. Work is uncountable. Then it would give 3 examples. She has a lot of work today. I don't have much work this week. He's looking for work. This structure did something important. It connected mistake, rule, and usage immediately. Not abstract grammar. Real context. Sometimes he added another instruction. Make it natural. He would write a correct but robotic sentence like, I am very tired because I did many tasks. ChatGPT might rewrite it as, I'm exhausted. I had a lot to do today. That simple comparison showed him how natural English flows differently from textbook English. Then he added something even smarter. After finishing a lesson, he would say, ask me again later. The next day or 2 days later, he'd type, test me on yesterday's phrases. That's a simple form of spaced repetition. Instead of reviewing everything every day, he reviewed small pieces at the right time, right before his brain was about to forget them. Here's the idea in simple terms. Your brain remembers better when you struggle to recall something after a short gap. That's called retrieval. If you see the answer again and again, it feels familiar, but it doesn't become strong. If you try to remember it without looking, even if you hesitate, the memory grows deeper. So instead of reading his notes passively, Liam asked questions from memory first, then checked. He also created something he called the mistake bank. This was not fancy. Just a notebook page divided into 3 columns. Wrong sentence. Correct sentence. 1 example. For example, wrong, I am boring. Correct, I am bored. Example, I am bored because the movie is slow. Every repeated mistake went into that bank. Once a week, he read it aloud. And slowly, those mistakes stopped coming back. Then he built a Today's English page. Every night, he wrote 3 small sections. First, useful phrases from today. Second, corrected sentences. Third, one question for tomorrow. Maybe something like, when do I use since and for? That question became the starting point for the next morning's session. This created continuity. Learning was no longer random. Each day connected to the next. But there was one more shift that changed everything. Thinking in English. He told ChatGPT, "Help me describe what I see around me in simple English." He looked at his room and said aloud, "There is a desk near the window. My phone is charging. The air feels warm." Then he typed his version. ChatGPT refined it. "There's a desk by the window. My phone is on charge. It feels warm in here." He repeated the improved version out loud. He began describing actions as he did them. "I'm opening the door. I'm putting on my shoes. I'm washing the dishes." Simple. Real. Continuous. The goal was not perfection. The goal was reducing translation. Instead of thinking in his native language and converting, he built direct connections between experience and English. Thought to sentence. Sentence to voice. And here's what happened after a few weeks. He didn't need to pause as long. He didn't need to search for every word. His brain started offering English options automatically. Not fluently, not beautifully, but naturally. That's when he realized something powerful. Progress is not loud. It's subtle. You don't wake up fluent. You wake up slightly less afraid, slightly faster, slightly clearer. And now we arrive at the most important part of the entire journey. Because all these tools mean nothing if you can't stay long enough for fluency to happen. So the real question becomes this: how do you maintain it long enough for English to feel automatic? Here is the truth Liam discovered after months of practice. Fluency is not a magic moment. It's not the day someone says, "Wow, your English is amazing." It's not when you pass a test. Fluency is the result of daily contact. Small contact. Repeated contact. Imperfect contact. You don't suddenly become fluent. You slowly become familiar. The biggest shift was not grammar. It was identity. Liam stopped saying, "I want to be fluent." That sentence kept fluency in the future. Instead, he began saying, "I am becoming the kind of person who practices English every day." That sentence changed his behavior. Because when you identify as a daily practitioner, you don't wait for motivation. You show up. This is where consistency becomes more important than intensity. First principle, daily minimum. 15 minutes counts. Even on busy days. Especially on busy days. A short diary. 2 corrected sentences. 1 minute of speaking. That's enough to keep the chain unbroken. The goal is not perfection. The goal is no 0 days. Second principle, 1 focus per week. Instead of learning everything at once, Liam picked one situation or one group of phrases each week. 1 week, ordering food. Next week, small talk. Another week, job interview questions. Depth builds confidence faster than random variety. Third principle, proof over feelings. Some days he felt stuck. Some days he felt slow. But he didn't judge progress by emotion. He compared evidence. He listened to a voice recording from week 1, and then week 4. The difference was clear. Fewer pauses. Better pronunciation. Longer sentences. Progress is easier to see when you record it. And here's something important. You don't need confidence before you speak. Confidence is built after you survive the awkwardness. After you say the sentence, even if your voice shakes. After you correct your mistake and try again. The discomfort is not a sign you should stop. It's proof you are stretching. One night, Liam realized he had described his entire day in English without planning it. Not perfectly, but naturally. And that's when he understood. Fluency is not about sounding like someone else. It's about sounding like yourself in another language. If this story reminded you that daily practice matters more than perfection, like this video. If you want structured English stories and systems you can apply immediately, subscribe to Inspire English Stories. And before you leave, write 1 sentence in the comments. 1 English habit I'll start today is ______. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Then begin.